Hey all, here at OS Reviews. In this video, we are comparing and contrasting the Google Pixel 6 and the Pixel 7 as we head into the second half of 2023, just discussing perhaps which one might be a better value and any core differences between these phones. They can be often found at steep discounts, often making them a pretty easy recommendation. For instance, the Pixel 6 here can now be found in used condition for under $200 when shopping around. The current gen Pixel 7 retails for $600, but as I've mentioned in my more in-depth review, this is a phone that can often be found with trade-ins and promotional offers for as low as $200. So really, between these two models right now, we're just talking about a $50 to $100 difference, and both are falling into the more affordable category as well. But anyways, starting with the design, both phones I think look quite clean and definitely have a distinctive Pixel look because of that visor on the rear. It's a matter of apples to oranges. I do really like how the Pixel 6 has a two-tone color, which is a little bit darker at the top and then lighter at the bottom with this glass visor, versus the 7 has one consistent color but a aluminum unibody strip. Nonetheless, both are glass sandwiches with a aluminum rail which are matte, making them quite easy to grip. In terms of physical dimensions, you can also tell how the Pixel 6 here is just a touch taller, just because it has a 6.4-inch display compared to 6.3 inches on the Pixel 7. They're definitely not the most compact things in the world and weigh about 200 grams, so have a little bit more surprising density to both in the hands than you might expect when picking them up, but do feel very premium. Whereas the back on the Pixel 7 is made from Corning Gorilla Glass Victus, the 6 instead uses Gorilla Glass 6, which is technically slightly older. Ultimately though, both are high quality glass, though because they are quite slippery, it is still recommended that you use some type of wrap or case for more added protection. In terms of the camera sensor, they're actually identical, using the same Samsung-produced GN1, which is a large 1/1.31-inch camera sensor coming in at 50 megapixels, as well as a 12 megapixel ultra-wide-angle lens and the dual-tone LED flash. So that hardware has been recycled on both generation devices, and that theme will mostly permeate throughout the rest of this comparison video, in that the Pixel 7 is just a little bit more of a refined version of the Pixel 6, similar to how on older iPhones they had a S edition device. So it's not going to be night and day, but just some minor details have been slightly improved. The back here also features the USB Type-C port for charging. The speed is also the same on both phones, coming in around 21 watts. The battery size is actually a little bit larger on the bigger Pixel 6, which has a 4,600 milliamp hour cell versus around 4,300 milliamp hours on the Pixel 7. Both though charge up around 50% in 30 minutes, and the Pixel 6 will take around an hour and 50 minutes to completely juice up from zero versus an hour and 40 minutes on the Pixel 7. With that being said, despite the change in capacity, has in practice very similar power endurance. That is, both phones will last for about a day's use, giving you around 5 to 6 hours of screen on time. Both have stereo speakers, the earpiece acting as the second speaker, and located on the right-hand spine, there's also access to the same power key and volume rockers. Their sensation when you press down on them are also very tactile and responsive, although there is one small detail on the Pixel 6, which is a slight indentation to the keys that is no longer present on the 7, that has been completely smoothed out. The antenna bands, as you can tell here, also has a little bit of refinement on the Pixel 7, where aligning with the camera bar, they are now positioned above and below, versus on the 6, it's actually segmenting it down on the middle. SIM card tray there located on the left, and both phones do have eSIM support as well. So if you are traveling and you want to download a virtual SIM, you can do that as well. The glass on the rear is also slightly curved and kind of meets the aluminum rail, although the curvature is more dramatic on the Pixel 7, where I would say it's about 40% of the thickness and then tapers off to the metal in a very smooth point, versus it's about maybe 20% on the Pixel 6. On the front of both devices, we have access to, again, an OLED HDR10 compatible 90Hz refresh rate display. Both feature under the display fingerprint scanners, although the speed has significantly improved compared to the older Pixel 6. The 7 is just a bit more reliable with fewer false negatives, and you can lift your finger away a little bit faster as well. One difference though is the Pixel 7 does have software support for face unlock using the front-facing camera, which by the way is around 10.8 megapixels compared to 8 megapixels on the Pixel 6, so slightly higher resolution, and that authentication offers you a nice extra in case the fingerprint scanner fails, though it's not quite as secure as fingerprint. And in terms of the overall design, I would dare say the Pixel 6 is a little bit more of that classic Google-y look. For lack of a better word, it does have thicker bezels on the sides, but because the rail here is also black, it has more of that almost cartoonish look. The brightness though of the new Pixel 7 is improved. It gets upwards of 1,400 nits in the auto mode, 1,000 nits in the maximum slider, versus on the Pixel 6 it reached around 600 nits in the slider manual mode and then up to 800 nits in the boosted mode. So you'll have an easier time seeing the Pixel 7 if you are taking it outdoors in more brightly lit conditions. Otherwise, running the show on the older Pixel 6 is the Google Tensor G1 chip compared to the Tensor G2 on the Pixel 7. To be completely honest, these two processors aren't radically different. They're both 5 nanometers, supporting 5G, and built on Samsung facilities, making it a more customized version of an Exynos chip to be completely technical, and raw horsepower on the two are actually quite close together since, again, the architecture, the size haven't really dramatically changed. You get a 5 to 10% performance bump, but it's honestly not very noticeable when you're using it, providing a good enough user experience. On paper though, both of these chips are on par with something like the Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 Plus. Tensor chips are a little bit more optimized for some of the Pixel exclusive features like allowing you to edit photos faster, processing nighttime shots. If you are looking at only the GPU and the CPU in a vacuum, then yes, it's not going to be as fast as the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, which is the current flagship, instead being about 1 to 2 generations behind. But again, in terms of day-to-day usage, honestly, phone processors have become so good that even a slightly weaker GPU on paper still delivers a very satisfying experience that is going to be good enough for the vast majority of folks out there. Even the 8 gigabytes of RAM built on in are the same, along with the 128 gigs of storage on the base models. What is different though is the modem on the Tensor G2 has been improved compared to the G1, so reception quality on cellular, 5G more specifically, is stronger on the new Pixel 7 by 20 to 25%. So if you are located in a more rural location and you were consistently getting drop signals on the Pixel 6, that is no longer going to be an issue on the Pixel 7. If you know you'll be mostly staying in the middle of a city, you probably won't find a huge difference, although if you are more of a globe trotter and a road warrior, the 7 will allow you to be more confident as you are on the go. Otherwise though, Wi-Fi reception, Bluetooth, NFC, GPS have all remained pretty much the same. In terms of the software situation, both are currently running on Android 13. The Pixel 6 came originally with 12, but has been since upgraded to 13 on the first day that the software became available, presenting you with almost an identical experience to the Pixel 7 when it comes to functionality and the way they look and feel. And all Pixels currently have 3 years of promised OS updates and 5 years of security updates, meaning that the 6 will receive up to Android 15 versus the 7 will get upwards of Android 16. Though again, at the moment, and even in the near foreseeable future, at least 2 or 3 years, you should be perfectly fine with both phones when it comes to the software and security department. Other Pixel exclusives, including double tapping on the back to turn the flashlight on and off, are also the same on both the 6 and the 7, in addition to tricks if you are in eligible markets, including having the phone block spam calls, including photo editing tools like Magic Eraser to eliminate unwanted distractions from photos, as well as live transcription that is excellent and will capture everything you're saying in real time and offering nearly perfect punctuation, as you can tell, although the Pixel 7 tends to be maybe just a smidge faster when you're comparing them side by side, but both are already far superior to the majority of Android phones. In the camera, again, the same sensors, so anything that is different looking would just be due to software processing. Aside from the night side, when you are increasing the exposure time, photos on the 7 are just a touch faster to capture, as you can tell there, by a split second. The end results, though, as aforementioned, will get you the same looking shots, such as if we zoom in here on the primary lens, you get the same, again, depth of field because the sensor size is the same, color science are the same, and the overall conclusion here is Pixel phones are known to have some of the best cameras, period. And this remains true on both of these devices. You can get very satisfying shots pretty much 9 out of 10 times. You end up with a result that you are super satisfied with. Images really don't require too much work at all to look great. The wide-angle lens also looks pretty similar, slightly more neutral in terms of the saturation, versus on the 6 it tends to be a little bit more on the vibrant side. But again, that's just down to personal preference. The level of detail as well as the field of view, again, are both pretty much par on par. In terms of thermals, that is one area where on both devices I would also give it mostly a tie, which is to say Exynos chips do tend to heat up faster than the best Qualcomm Snapdragon chips. In fact, they'll start to get quite toasty after just about 5 minutes or so of gaming, and if you're doing things more graphically demanding like taking videos, the same thing will occur. Though luckily, in my personal experience, I haven't encountered a overheating issue, but it definitely gets noticeably warmer. And it's really not surprising that both phones perform similarly when it comes to most casual usage cases, when it comes to opening different programs. Again, it's really when you put them side by side, can you notice maybe the Pixel 7 being a split second faster, but that is still actually quite difficult to perceive. A final software perk offered in the 7, which is omitted on the 6, would be Google's free VPN. This is typically a paid service through Google One subscription, but all Pixel 7 phones will have this capability to get it for free, even if you're not subscribed, and it will more securely encrypt your data if you're on a more spotty or public Wi-Fi network. However, again, the Pixel 6 does not have this capability unless you purchase a Google One subscription yourself. It is worth noting, though, that both phones don't have free unlimited backups to Google Photos, even in the storage saver mode, like on older Pixel phones till the Pixel 5. So that is one feature that has been unfortunately stripped. Smaller details like the haptic vibration motor are, I would say, equally as good on both phones, which are both excellent, very tight and precise. When it comes to speaker quality, though, interestingly, the Pixel 6 does seem to have a little bit more bass, at least in the default tuning out of the box. So I'm going to play a quick snippet here. And now move over to the Pixel 7. So the 7 sound is actually just a little bit more thin by comparison, but it is very subtle, although you can always install a third-party EQ to further boost up the bass yourself, and the actual loudness, I would say, is very similar. So there it is, kind of a closer comparison of these phones. Again, mostly just a slight refinement and some differences in the aesthetics, and a small incremental upgrade. So when it comes to, again, whether you should pick up the 7 or the 6, I would say it really depends and all comes down to pricing. For customers outside the US, a lot of the promotions and excellent trade-in offers for the newest Pixel 7 may not be available, so the Pixel 6 can be found at much more compelling price points. And I would personally say if the delta between these two phones is more than $200-250, you could probably save some money and just go for the 6, to be completely honest. However, again, if you are in an area where the difference is going to be less significant, under $200, even $100 difference, the 7, of course, will get you a year of additional support and some minor improvements over the 6, though the overall experience, again, is still quite similar. Both, though, are excellent Android smartphones and offer you a very smooth and overall enjoyable to use experience. You can check out more details in the links down below, as well as our individual in-depth reviews on these phones separately on our channel. But for now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been a closer look at the Pixel 7 and the 6.